I remember the day my parents came home with a wee little Game Boy and Pokemon Ruby with it. Needless to say, it instantly became a timeless classic. The Pokemon in this generation were pretty amazing, and although not quite my favorite generation Pokemon-wise, they still had an extremely high bar. So, let's rank them. Before we begin, a reminder, these are based on one thing, my overall enjoyment of them, and I have no reason to be ranking these. I am not a Pokemon guru. I'm more of a Pokemon gru, if you will. What am I waiting for? Let's go! I can't tell you how much Spoink pisses me off. Like, actually, what do you contribute to society? As far as I'm concerned, there's only 134 Gen 3 Pokemon. I guess I need to get into why it's bad, don't I? First off, it just constantly bounces. If it stops bouncing, it will die. Two things. One, I hope it stops bouncing. Two, imagine sharing a hotel room with this thing. The entire night would be like watching this one part of Winnie the Pooh on repeat. Also, it likes eating mushrooms. Mushrooms are gross, and if you think otherwise, you are entitled to financial compensation from someone I don't know how to explain. Lastly, it's part of 2% of the National Pokédex that can learn Splash. What the hell are you splashing in? I'm genuinely asking, does Whismur have actual use? Like, is there a real reason to ever choose Whismur over, like, 133 other Pokemon in this gen? It looks like the ragdoll in that old mobile game, Kick the Buddy. Time to stretch the legs. Skitty, wait. Let's rewind. I don't like cats. Do you see my problem with Skitty? There it is. I think my bias against Spoink really goes against Grumpig's rating a bit, but I would dislike this hog regardless. This is everything I dislike about it. Shelgon is kinda bad. I remember I had to use it for an old video, and it was not fun to use. This just aligns with my opinion, being that the middle evolutions are generally the worst. I would apologize, but name one middle evolution. You can't. Cascoon and Silcoon are basically the same Pokemon as far as I'm concerned. Like everyone else, I had to look up which Pokemon was which. Both have decent Pokemon evolved from them, and both come from Wurmple. You know what? I've been saving this award for a special Pokemon, but they can split the trophy. Introducing the Pokemon I care the least about award. Congratulations to these two for winning it. I think Swalot's mustache is hilarious. Besides that, he kind of reminds me of that fish on the wall that sings. I think it's because their mouths look similar. I know for a fact Swalot can't sing like that though. Remember when I said I don't like cats earlier? Delcatty is a cat. And before the cat fandom comes from my throat, basically my childhood cat didn't really like me that much, and that's why I don't love cats. I'm sorry if that's difficult to understand. Gulpin is a joke waiting to happen, but I just don't know where. All I know is that if you hit one of these things with a bird, you get 5,000 points. Bloom Eyes is, for whatever reason, not something I like. I guess I'm confused by it. Let me see if there's anything online about this thing. Oh god, why can't you people be normal? I learned that Volbeat is the name of a band, which doesn't add any value to this video. I'm going to start a band and name it Chimchar, but with no correlation to the Pokemon. Anyway, I like it more than Illumise because it's red, and red is my favorite color. Red is also my favorite Taylor Swift album. I swear that Cradily would highlight my nightmares. It looks like that dinosaur that killed the Space Jam guy in Jurassic Park. Or does it look like a Venus flytrap? Or how about me when I get out of bed in the morning? I hate to say it, but Dustox kinda sucks. More like Suckstox, am I right? I'm not sure what it is, but I really just don't get along with him. I just recently was freed from the shackles of a terrible roommate, and if Dustox took his place, I would be reshackled. I can't go back to jail.
I should have gotten thrown in jail years ago. It's a smart Alex paradise.
Shut up, Bugs. For my brief experience playing Pokemon games, Paris has got to be the most annoying Pokemon. Second most? Glalie, no question. I can understand if you like Glalie, as it is a unique middle evolution, which I can't say often. but I can't get over how annoying it is, from constantly chasing you down in Arceus to being unable to tell if it's an alpha because its eyes are normally red. I'm just not a fan. Loudred is a pretty bummer Pokemon. I feel like on paper it is such a cool idea, but in execution, yeah, kind of a letdown. Relicanth is whatever. If I wanted to see a fossil fish, I wish it looked more threatening, but I think Relicanth looks more like a rug than it does a Pokemon. Sableye is... what is Sableye? A cat? A demon? Manny from Diary of a Wimpy Kid? I never particularly loved Sableye, but I now realize I also never particularly disliked Sableye. It's almost as if I don't have a stable eye for Shut up! Lileep is in the same boat. Ironically, I don't think I've ever used Lileep, and yes, it's a fossil, but I don't remember ever choosing this one. It has a really fun name, and to be honest, would probably enhance another Pokemon, but oh well. Also, can you give it a smile, please? Thanks. Zangoose is not a goose, but it's an okay Pokemon. I don't know what to say outside of that. I've never gravitated toward it, which is kind of impressive given that I really like its colors, but I don't know. It's just confusing to me. Hariyama makes me uncomfortable. This is what it would have looked like if the Duffer Brothers cast 11 incorrectly, and I wish I knew where his mouth started, or his waist, or any body part other than his hands.
Can't feel my legs!
Love Disc, it's a heart, it's a fish. Are we done here? It's almost creative, but if I'm going to choose a water type, I'm probably going to choose literally anything else. And for that one specific individual out there, if this is your favorite Pokemon, I hope you have a really good day. Meditite looks like those people on the beach doing yoga. As someone who is very inflexible, it would be nice to be able to stretch like that. But as someone who's rating Pokemon, you are the 113th best Pokemon in Gen 3. That's not a bad thing, you have some steep competition. The best thing about Spinda is the amount of different variations it has. That's the only interesting thing about Spinda. I really like that this is a thing, and I wish Pokemon tried fun ideas like this more, but as much as I hate to say it, why couldn't they do this on a more memorable Pokemon? I just learned this during writing this video. Seviper has a rivalry with Zangoose. I agree, I also have a rivalry with Zangoose. The rivalry of the C-tier. Why not? Why not rank this Pokemon any higher? Why not does this Pokemon come from the wild? Why not hatch an egg and it turns into this? Why not subscribe? Mawile definitely tries something new with its design. It supposedly looks cute before munching down with its big jaws, which immediately is a red flag. This is also a red flag. Do you see the problem with Mawile? For someone who generally loves Route 1 Pokemon, Poochyena isn't good. Is it bad? Well, no. I honestly remember it for Howl, and that's it. Simply put, it's a dog with a lot of bark but no bite. If I wanted that, I'd go get Courage the Cowardly Dog. Lairon has a weird name and I don't know how to feel. It's also a weird Pokemon. It looks like Toothless when he activates his back thing, but somehow it still seems to be harmless, which is impressive. Metang looks like the Underminer, and I just imagine it calling itself that. But in the end, unfortunately, it's a Suedo legendary I don't really like. Spoilers for later, I guess, but I don't really like that many Suedo legendaries. Explode! Just hurt my ears. I don't think it's all that great. I used to get so upset because it looks awesome, and it turned out to be so nothing. Whoop-de-freaking-do, it likes to be loud. This isn't the quiet place, this is Pokemon. Zigzagoon, for being a just about useless Pokemon, has a pretty fun design. I've never been a huge raccoon person, especially when you take out Guardians of the Galaxy, but to be honest, I kinda like this guy.
The name's
Zigzagoon. Zigzagoon.
Raccoon.
Is Shuppet a top? Is it a ghost? Is it a unicorn head under a tarp? Is it an evil oil baron trying to take over the whole studio?
Fozzie, did you even watch our last film?
Makuhita is more enjoyable than Hariyama because I can see where his body parts end. It also reminds me of... Medicham's legs make me uncomfortable. If I had a nickel for every time a Gen 3 Pokemon had body parts that made me uncomfortable, I'd have 2 nickels.
Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right?
Barboach might actually be the most forgettable Pokemon of all time. Please, let me know if you think anything is more forgettable. Like, it's just a fish. You know what else is just a fish?
Yeah!
I just finished writing the script and realized I forgot a Pokemon. Can you guess what one it is? Vibrava shouldn't be, but apparently it is my most forgettable Gen 3 Pokemon. Which I know is ironic considering what I just said about Barboach, but you can't argue facts. Well, you can, but then you'd sound like an idiot. Solrock and Lunatone deserve to be talked about together because they're sun and moon. Gen 7 foreshadowing? If you ask me if I like the sun or moon more, the sun wins without a doubt, but somehow I don't like its depiction in this Pokemon, so Lunatone wins. I don't really know what it is, but Lunatone doesn't seem to have a dark side. Dusclops, fun fact, is the only one in this line that is spelled with a C. I only know this because every time I tried to spell this in guessing games, I got it wrong. Anyway, this is as close as you can get to a Scooby-Doo unmasking. I wonder who did it.
Now let's see if our mystery ghost diver is really Ebenezer Sharp.
As much as I tried to love this Pokemon, and as much as I felt like I was supposed to, Seedot is just a seed. And with what I said about Pineco, having Seedot even this high feels like a stretch. But I kinda like him for whatever reason. I've tried one Nuzlocke in my life, and Nincada took 2 of my Pokemon. So, I have to respect it a little more than I was originally going to. If I played normally, we wouldn't be in the same situation, but you either die the hero or live long enough to become the villain. That quote doesn't fit at all here. Beldum is slightly higher than Metang because it looks like something middle school me would have put on my shelf. What that means, I don't know. I was an animal in middle school. Corphish, well, isn't a fish. And it isn't a core. He's whatever. He's a crab. Wait, hold on. Maybe the alternate menu of the secret formula is Corphish and Krabby is the main meal. Masquerain, has a really cool name. Okay. That's the only thought I have that isn't offensive to it. I'm kinda kidding, but every time I think of this, I think of the Masquerade Balls from the Barbie movie. At least this isn't a stupid, idiotic rodent. I should have put him higher, but I just couldn't. Wurmple, one of the most useless Pokemon ever, is my 90th favorite Gen 3 Pokemon. I like its simplicity, which is ironic because I do not like worms. Being red helps a lot, and I kind of just love it, but it's useless. That's the thing with this gen, is I want to rank a lot of Pokemon higher than I can. Number 1 in my heart, number 90 in this video. Even though you're supposed to pronounce them differently, Minun and Plusle deserve to be talked about together. Plusle wins because it's red, but besides that, there's not really a difference here. Helping Hand is kind of cool with double battles, but even today, I'd rather just attack than take time to set up.
Attack!
For a person who's a big Monkeys and Pokemon fan, Vigoroth is a letdown. I love its energy, but in a line full of lazy apes, it feels out of place. I mentioned with Zangoose I like red and white, but somehow they're 0 for 2 on those colors. Jirachi is down this low because I've never gotten to use one. I know that BDSP has one that's pretty easy, but that game sucks. You can get one in Emerald if you... Wait, there's a ton of ways to get this. Surely these are reasonable. Clamperl is fine. This is one of the Who's It's Ariel was talking about. Speaking of Ariel, I just want to throw out this take. I'm excited for the Mufasa movie. Even though the live-action Lion King sucked, this one will be cool. That's all. I never really knew how to use Castform well, and honestly, it still kind of bums me out. Like, in theory, it would be awesome, but again, I don't like to set up, and it feels like that's all this thing is good for. Chimicho? It's pronounced Chimecho. Chimecho is fine. I'm actually surprised. I usually pronounce this the correct way, and that doesn't often happen in Pokemon. Before I say anything about Kecleon, I just want to say that I am writing this at a Brewers game. Here's proof. Anyway, it's okay, carried by it being able to blend in with things. Wilmer is also just okay. For me, it was always hiding in its bigger evolution Shadow, and to be honest, it doesn't do much for me in comparison. I also would imagine it's difficult to do a baby evolution of a whale, so somewhere along the line, it doesn't quite work for me. Surskit looks like one of those ski shows with the fancy tricks. I don't have much to say on it, but I usually don't have a lot of thoughts when it comes to C-tier Pokemon. I'm just babbling. They're all average, mid, ordinary, normal, unexceptional, better than boring, existing creatures that I have to rank and for one small moment pretend to care about. Crawdaunt is the coolest crab I know. Unfortunately, I don't like crabs that much. So if your favorite Pokemon is a crab, don't get your hopes up too high. Crabs make me crabby. Nosepass is alright. It's kind of forgettable, its shiny is cool, and I wish this was in Gen 4 strictly. That would have been one less Pokemon I'd have to talk about in this video. Latios and Latias are kind of nothing. They look like kids' toys. Latias wins, by the way, because it's red, but why would I ever willingly use this legendary in my party when there's other better ones? Who made it so that you can only get one of these in Gen 3 per save file, and who was the culprit for making them so average? But hey, it's not the most average Gen 3 Pokemon. We're not there yet. Roselia is almost interesting. This is the first Pokemon that mixed grass and poison that I ever used, and it was an interesting combination. I like that it looks like the Queen of the Flowers, but it can sting you if it needs to. Just fun stuff. Wait, you can't be serious. We're already in the B tier? Last video it took so long. Ugh. Anyways, Deoxys is a very cool legendary that gets weighed down because it's stupid hard to obtain. I don't really understand the obsession with making Pokemon that are not easily obtainable in game, but I digress. Its weird arms and unique design make for a legendary that I would always be excited to use if I ever got the opportunity. When I was younger, I always thought Torkoal was in the camera up line. Just needed to get that off my chest. Why do I not love this? I don't know, to be honest. It's a fiery turtle. That's sick. But somewhere, sometime, I realized I didn't love this. I still like it, but I feel like it should be higher. And since we're in B tier, I would like to reiterate, I like these Pokemon. Even though technically we're in the bottom half right now, that just tells you how good this generation is. Slakoth has a lot of personality for a sleeping Pokemon. It looks so cozy, and I feel like it should be drifting off near a Christmas campfire. Also, it reminded me of this Pop Tropical level with this Trophy Hunter. Don't hunt Slakoth, he's endangered. Carvanha is a damn cool fish. I'm not usually a fish fan, so this thing being high on the list. Speaking of high, that Flyball was high. Anyway, being high on the list says something. Cool beans.
Aw, you're no fun.
Enjoy Bush's baked beans.
Celio is the middle evolution of a very exciting line. I like seals a lot, and spoiler alert, Celio is a seal. You can tell because they both have seal in their name. Azrael looks like an atom. O2? That can't be right, it's a water type. I was gonna write a joke here, but there's some drunk guys behind me at the brewer game and I can't think. It's time. The most average Gen 3 Pokemon is Baltoy. Fun fact, Baltoy is the first average Pokemon so far that is in B tier. Naturally, that makes it the best so far. Good work, Baltoy. The barely above average Gen 3 Pokemon is Aggron. It's decent, a bit too aggressive for me, but I still like it. I'm a little unnerved by the fact that it's on 2 feet, but who wouldn't be? Cacturne looks like a badly done Halloween costume. You could replace him with the Scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz and it wouldn't change that movie at all. That's right, Cacturne doesn't have a brain. Mightyena is a pretty mighty dog, and by pretty mighty, I just like its design a lot. I don't think I've ever used this in a game for very long, but that doesn't pin it as bad. He's pretty neat. Banette scared me into ranking it this high. Banette and Homelander are the same. It's sinister, it's creepy, it's annoying to see in the wild, but so is TikTokers, so that's not saying much. I get it! I can't imagine this is a very popular Pokemon, but this isn't high school. It's not a popularity contest. You're pretty solid, Banette. Breloom reminds me of the tall poison shooter guy from Plants vs. Zombies. It wouldn't surprise me if it hid when enemies came close, and respectfully, I think it's a coward.
Fight back! You coward, fight back!
somebody has to be last, and Combusken makes me a little uncomfortable. I don't know why it looks like this. I feel like if its sprite was more natural, it would be higher. I still like the Torchic line a lot, but of all the middle evolutions from starters in this gen, Combusken is my least favorite. By every piece of logic I've used through these videos, I don't like bugs, I don't like spiders, this should not be a Pokemon that is on the upper half of my rankings, but for some reason, I like Anorith. It might be because I got attached to this Pokemon during my Nuzlocke, but for someone who also doesn't like fossil Pokemon too much, I really can't understand why I have it this high. Huntail has an amazing design, but I've never used it much. It's pretty forgettable, but it shouldn't be, and I wish it was easier to obtain. I guess I'm just frustrated because I want to use it, but it's just not easy to use. Shiftry is a weirdo. That's really the best I can describe it. I enjoy it a little bit, but it's fun to use. I thought of Grandmaster Oogway when I saw this by accident.
There are no accidents.
Metagross is not the meta, and it also isn't gross. I think it would be cooler if pirates weren't encouraged to ding on its face. Seriously though, why is this X here? It just ruins the design. It made me think of Muppet Treasure Island. Why am I thinking of Muppet Treasure Island? Walrein is pretty cool. If you haven't picked up on it, most Pokemon lines I rank 1, 3, 2 from my favorite to least favorite. And this line follows that pattern. Walrein does everything I could ask from a Steel King, and I am glad of its inclusion. Bagon is a fun little guy. I never disliked it. He looks like a dinosaur's kid and would promptly fit in Jurassic World. With that being said, I'd rather take him than anything Disney puts out.
Alright, you clockers.
Lanoon in one adjective is swift. This isn't a joke related to TM, I just think that it would be sly. Like the Pink Panther. That's it. Lanoon is the Pink Panther. You know, just brown and white and a raccoon. Lanoon is the brown and white raccoon. I hate seeing Claydol show up against me, but I love it when it's on my team. I know it should be a different Pokemon, but Claydol wins for striking the most fear into me versus any other Pokemon. I guess something along the way scarred me with a wild Claydol, and now I'd rather just stay away. Electrike is a cool doggo. This used to give me so many problems on my way to Mauville, but I have since graduated, and now it only gives me some problems. Tropius is so friggin' sick, but I have no emotional attachment. It's way too small in Scarlet and Violet. I feel like it's kind of a disappointment. Respectfully. I mean, to be fair, this thing is 21 years old and just now got told it's a disappointment. I'm sorry, Tropius, that was harsh. I meant you're not a disappointment. I'm gonna make such a good parent someday. Kirlia is called an emotion Pokemon, and the only emotion I get is insane excitement. Imagine if Kirlia was an emotion in Inside Out. Wouldn't that be sick? You got rage, happiness, sadness, and then a freaking Pokemon. Feebas smells. It's also ugly. It's also only available on 4 of like 500 tiles with only a 50% chance to spawn, and although it would never be fun to hunt, at least it's iconic, and for that reason, I like it more than Huntail. It's iconic. Ludicolo has some fun maracas, and I want to fiesta with him at Mardi Gras. He looks like a combo of SpongeBob and Shrek because both of those two are pretty iconic. He had to be top 50.
There was no other way.
If you ever forget what letter Whiscash starts with, look at the top of his head. I love his mustache. He's the Raleigh Fingers of Pokemon. I'm sorry that there's been so many baseball references in this video. In conclusion, he's pretty fun. I feel like Gorobus would be a word that the Jungle Book snake would say. Gorobus and Huntail fall into the same, I don't like them because they're rarer category, but Gorobus has an amazing and even better than Huntail design. What can I say? If you're cool, you're cool. Ninjask is really fast. Like Lightning McQueen fast. His category is Ninja, so if he's fast and can play Fortnite, Ninjask is a middle schooler's dream Pokemon. Cacnea reminds me a lot of Spheal, but spiky and green. I think it's cool to show this sort of evolution. I'm glad Cacnea exists. He reminds me of the troll from Harry Potter a little bit, and also the Whomping Willow. Maybe he's straight up a Harry Potter character. I like these 3 Pokemon, but Regirock, Regice, and Registeel just feel kinda boring. Whoop-de-doo, a legendary. I like the bird trio a good amount, the dogs a bit less, but now these guys, Ugh. What's next? A weather trio? A forest trio? A lake trio? Oops, Gen 4 spoilers. Grovyle is fun, but again, the middle evolution rears its ugly head. Not that this is ugly, unlike other disgusting abominations, and to be honest, I like Grovyle a lot. I probably have more emotional connection to Grovyle than its evolved form, however, I don't think of it as highly. Grovyle is still amazing though, and I'll fight anyone who says otherwise. Beautifly is a butterfly that somehow isn't that pretty. Like, how does that work? At the same time though, it's still a butterfly. It still has vibrant colors, and although its shiny looks like you dragged one through the mud, I think it's fun to be around regardless. I know the line sucks, but the Wurmple line is up highly for me. You know, it kind of surprises me that there aren't more shark Pokemon, but Sharpedo is a pretty good one. I've always liked seeing it around, and I think the fact that there aren't many shark Pokemon make it just a bit better. Sharpedo, fish are friends, not food.
But one of the sharks recognized him.
Hey.
If there's one reason Ralts is so high, the reason is its value in map randomizers. I love map randos, and Ralts is so clutch when doing a map rando. In retrospect, I find it funny that Pokemon like Magikarp and Ralts I rank so high when their signature move is next to useless, but hey, my opinion on the internet is only that, an unopposable fact. And my favorite middle evolution is Marshtomp. Admittedly, I often mix up the names of this and Swampert, but I will say Marshtomp is really good. Whenever I played Emerald and chose Mudkip, Marshtomp made the entire journey significantly easier. I don't love its design, but hey, you can't always win them all. Swablu looks like a cotton candy mesh ball, and even though I don't even know what that means, he's a cutie patootie. I always smile when I see this in the wild, catch it, and proceed to not use it. I don't think most people will agree with me, but I like Slaking. I'm not going to get into the King rant again, but even though its ability is straight garbage, I like that it's unique. It reminds me of Kerchak, but a lot more laid back. Like Kerchak's uncle. Camerupt was always one of my favorites to use in Gen 3, but with time it slowly got worse. I think I liked it because my favorite type was fire, but it's neat nonetheless. Although I don't love its design, it's confident in itself, but then again, so is Elysius O'Hare.
You greedy dirtbag!
Pelipper is literally that bird that saved Nemo, and that guy is rad. They are the same. They are family.
Ohana means family.
If Slakoth is Kerchak, then Nuzleaf is Baby Tarzan. All we need is one more character to be Turk. Looking through the rest of the Pokemon I have to rank, no Turk. Tarzan is going to be hella lonely. Numel is actually the Gen 3 fire type I liked the most as a kid, not including the Torchic line. I just like his shy nature and go happy demeanor, and he makes me smile like the sun, fall out of bed, sing like a bird, dizzy in my head. Groovy, groovy, groovy. Sceptile is still a fun Pokemon, but I feel like it's missing something. It reminds me of Pickett a bit from Fantastic Beasts, but the thing is, this isn't quite a Fantastic Beasts. It's a fun beast, but I would also describe Sweetums as a fun beast. Take that for what you will. Shroomish looks like Flappy Bird, and Flappy Bird reminds me of fun, cheap iPhone games. Anyone want to play Paper Toss? I bet Shroomish can go a mile. Trapinch reminds me of the Mirage Tower and how difficult it is to bike through that. With difficulty comes adversity, and with adversity comes... The birds in Gen 3 I like more than most starting birds, and part of it is because of their color scheme. Swellow looks cool. If Superman was a bird, you're looking at him. Lotad has always made me happy. Its fun little demeanor, the fact that somebody ate part of the pizza, and I don't know. It's just Lotad. In Gen 2, I was talking about the Pokemon that would make good secret agents. Lotad would be a damn good secret agent. It already looks like he has the hat. First off, I just want to reiterate how much I love this gen. 25 Pokemon are A tier or higher, when Gen 2 only had 31 Pokemon in B tier or higher. Anyway, before I tell you this Pokemon, I need to give you a little backstory. When I was younger, my cousin and I would bring Pokemon cards to Grandma's house, and instead of playing the Pokemon card game, we'd both grab 5 random cards and flip one over, and whoever the highest HP won, and it was best of 5. Simple enough, right? So, when I got a 130 HP Wailord out of the pack, I knew I was going to win a lot of hands. Literally just because of that, I've always loved Wailord. Flygon is oddly amazing. Its big beady dragonfly eyes add a lot to me liking it, and if I was a Pokemon trainer in real life, I think this is one of the Pokemon to have on my team. It's just confusingly sick. Longtime fans of mine from the 100 subscriber YouTube era, I can't wait to revisit this, know that one Pokemon was my first arch rival. AKA, a wild one killed most of my Pokemon in a Nuzlocke. Anyway, Absol is still really good, but we are mortal enemies. That's enough screen time for you, you ugly, bleak. Salamence somehow reminds me of Dragon from the Shrek series. What if, like the Shrek series, Salamence and Absol had kids?
Are my babies cute, or do they make people feel uncomfortable?
Aaron is cool, that's all. I have a friend named Aaron, and he's also cool. It's an easy formula. Admittedly, I had to double check the name of this because sometimes they mix up Heatran and Groudon, but Groudon is pretty cool. He's devilishly handsome, quite intimidating. If he was green, he would be Shrek.
This is the part where you run away.
No.
Swampert is probably the best starter to use in this game from a competitive aspect, but it was always my least favorite to be chosen. Bonus points for having bruised colors, and a few more bonus points for having an awesome shiny. Yeah, though, Swampert is fun. Altaria looks so graceful. It has wings of clouds and feels like such a proper evolution of Swablu. It's one of the prettiest Pokemon, and I just really like it. I can't tell you how much easier it is to talk about Pokemon that I like. Gardevoir looks like a Disney princess. I just rewatched Tangled, so I'm going to call it Rapunzel, but when the hair was chopped off. Or maybe it's Belle. It could absolutely fit in as one of them. I think Duskull would be the main character of one of my nightmares. I was pretty excited when I caught a shiny one, and to be honest, this glowing orb is pretty cool. A while ago, I visited this thing in the UP called the Paulding Light, and it's a long story of a haunted situation, but maybe Duskull is the source of it. Armaldo looks like a poorly done Halloween costume, but I really like him. He looks so ready for whatever challenge he's gonna get, so Armaldo, I'll give you this. Set a world record for the fastest mile dressed as a Halloween mascot. Oh my god! Milotic is so beautiful, you guys. Isn't it so okay, it's fine. All I know is its beauty stats has to be high to be evolved. I like its colors for me, that's what makes it fun. And although I mentioned on it earlier, it is kinda pretty. His feel is so bubbly and epic. What am I supposed to say? He's so happy. He looks like a bowling ball, but if you threw him backboards in Wii Sports, he'd be swarmed like paparazzi. Like I said earlier, I really like the birds, and Tailo is one of the birds. Spoiler alert. If I can, I'll always use Tailo early in a playthrough because he just rolls through other Pokemon. This is probably my favorite early game bird Pokemon, and I really like him. Lombre has more personality than most Pokemon. Like, I could say so many things about him. That, combined with him being one of my first accidental shinies, makes him basically the GOAT of Gen 3. Well, he would be, if there weren't 10 Pokemon that I liked more. It's not just because it's the top 10, but the upcoming 10 have insane emotional attachment. I'm so excited. Here we go. Kyogre is a safe top 10 for most people, I think, but I can't tell you how excited I am to have him on the team every time. I mean, it's Kyogre. There's nothing to say that hasn't already been said, except this. It looks straight out of Atlantis. Maybe he's the Great Protector.
You shall not pass!
Blaziken reminds me of Slash. Tell me I'm wrong. Anyway, what more do you want from a fully evolved Pokemon? Seriously, he's just a rock star. I was gonna make a joke about Nickelback there, but I couldn't dare dream have 2 videos recently that had Nickelback references. Manectric. I know that Manectric and Electric are 2 different words, but I always think of Katy Perry when I say its name out loud. Jokes aside, if you saw this dog running at you, you'd run for your life. It's Houndoom, but slightly better. God, it is so sick. Eagle-eyed viewers might have noticed that I have not named a single one of the baby versions of the starters so far, so what's my least favorite? Well, when I put it like that, it sounds bad. Mudkip is my 7th favorite Pokemon in Gen 3. He's a happy little guy and he's pretty useful to use, but I don't think I've ever picked him until I graduated high school. He's still fun and I like him a lot. Don't get it twisted. Torchic is my favorite chicken Pokemon. Speaking of which, it is a travesty that we don't have more Pokemon chickens. I feel like if I ran across one of these, he'd kangaroo jump kick me and run away. I'd like it shiny too, which might be a hot take. Snorunt is so adorable. I think that most people would probably put it in C tier, but he makes me happy when I look at it. Also, its shiny is unbelievable, and probably my favorite shiny in all of Pokemon. Yeah. The blue is so vibrant, and although I don't care for Glalie or Frostlass, to be honest, we started off with a bang. Trico is really fun. You can't really go wrong anywhere with these starters, but I always had the most fun with Trico. Gen 3 for me really set the bar with starters and raised the expectations for them for the future. In the end, no matter how you rank these three, you have to admit they're damn cool. Wingull is another Pokemon that always makes me smile. I love seeing it in any game, and although it's not the best attacker, if there was any Pokemon bird I'd love to see on my bird feeder, it's this guy. I also thought the part of Gen 3 with Mr. Briny was fun and enjoy the boat ride every time. I didn't learn about this Pokemon until late, but Shedinja is so cool. The fact that you can't fight it with non-super effective moves is really unique, and even though it may not be the best offensive Pokemon ever, I really love the idea of bringing this thing into battles that it can't lose. I mean, come on. Rayquaza is my favorite legendary in all of Pokemon. It appeared in Smash Bros. As a fightable boss. I mean, you're putting this thing on the same level as Bowser, but in Bowser's canon universe. Rayquaza can solo sweep the Elite Four and Champion in Gen 3, which may or may not be a good thing. It's just fun to use, really good, visually stunning, and what else do I need to say? It's only my second S tier Pokemon for now. Gen 4 is next. I love the Pokemon in Gen 4. All you need to know is that the next video will be a heck of a lot of positivity. It's going to be a lot of fun. But until then, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. See you later. Have a good one. Bye.